So you want to lift in a flat-soled shoe like Chuck Taylor's or deadlift slippers. Use high socks to avoid shin scrapes, and a 10mm lever belt to increase torso rigidity and force transfer as you pull. Now, none of these things are required per se. They're just going to help out with your performance on the lift. You want to stand where your shins are about ½ inch behind the bar, with the bar roughly centered over the tongue of your shoes. And in general, you want to use a stance slightly closer than shoulder width, which is going to minimize the distance the bar has to travel and prevent your hands from moving out too wide just to stay outside your shins. And unlike the sumo deadlift, there's no need to flare your toes out. Your feet should be pointing straight ahead. So get down to take your grip by setting your hips back as you would in a stiff leg deadlift. And once you can't get your hips back any further, allow your knees to come forward slightly until your shins make light contact with the bar without knocking it forward. You want to grip the bar with your arms hanging straight down, right at shoulder width, so that when you grip the bar, your hands are just outside your shins. Again, you have the option of using an alternate or over-under grip, which will allow you to pull more weight. However, it may lead to imbalances if you don't periodically alternate the overhand and the underhand. And even though the double overhand grip is probably the safest, it will also limit your true strength potential because your grip generally won't be as strong this way. Now, you also can give the hook grip a shot by wedging your thumb between your fingers and the bar, but it does have a pretty painful adjustment period. And straps are also an option, so you can go double overhand and avoid that alternate grip, but I would make sure that you do at least one heavy set per workout without straps so your raw grip strength doesn't suffer. So none of these grips are perfect, but personally I go with the alternate grip. So you want to dig the bar into the base of your hand, and you should drive your pinky into the bar, which is going to prevent grip fatigue. And once your grip is set, you want to pack your lats by thinking about pulling the bar in close to you, which is going to prevent the bar from drifting out in front of you as you lift. Now at this point, you want to pull your lower back into a neutral position, creating a stretch in your hamstrings, and you'll want to maintain this flat lower back position throughout the rest of the lift. A little bit of thoracic or upper back rounding is more acceptable and less dangerous. However, if you pull with a slightly rounded thoracic spine, just don't allow it to round further throughout the lift. With your hips still high and anteriorly tilted, you want to take a deep breath into your gut. And at this point, you have the lift fully set up and you're ready to initiate the pull. And exactly the same as with sumo, you should be able to draw a straight line connecting your scapula, the middle of the bar, and the middle of your foot. At this point, you want to initiate the pull by pulling the slack out of the bar so it slightly bends under your grip just before the plates actually leave the floor. You don't want to grip and rip the bar where you just immediately yank it up, because you'll come up solid against the weight of the plates before they leave the ground, which can deplete energy and throw you out of position. Now, as one quick aside here, I would say that in powerlifting circles, it's pretty common knowledge that the sumo pull tends to be slower off the ground, while the conventional pull tends to be fast off the ground, but tougher at lockout. So for this reason, coaches will often encourage lifters to be patient off the floor with sumo, as it can take longer for the plates to actually get moving, but you can be more explosive off the ground with conventional, since you want to take advantage of that sort of rubber band effect off the floor and then carry that momentum off the ground all the way up to lockout. So as soon as you've pulled the slack out of the bar, explode up with the weight, leading with your chest up. And similar to sumo, you want to focus mainly on driving your hips forward while holding an isometric contraction in your lumbar spine to prevent lower back rounding, in your shoulder blades to prevent upper back rounding, and at your shoulder to keep the bar in tight against your legs. The bar should be moving up in a perfectly straight line, centered over the middle of the foot, and it should be dragging straight up against your shins. Finishing the lockout tends to be the most difficult part of the conventional pull, because the bar needs to travel a further distance off the ground. So to break through the sticking point, you want to really force your hips forward and get your chest up, since often you'll need to sort of unroll the upper back to get the shoulders fully locked. And at the top, you know you've truly locked the lift out if your knees and hips are straight and your chest is lifted up with your shoulders slightly back. There's no need to overdo the lockout by leaning backward excessively, hyperextending your lower back, or squeezing your shoulder blades together, or shrugging the weight up. Again, when it comes to the negative, you can either let the bar fall more freely with your hands simply guiding it back into position, or you can slightly resist the negative, having it last for about 1 second, which is gonna ensure that the plates land in the right spot as the bar tracks back down against your legs. And you wanna make sure you set your hips back first. Then as the bar is clearing the knees, let the knees bend and drop the bar straight down as it moves against your shins. And don't make the common mistake of forcing the bar out in front of you just to clear your knees on the way down, which will totally throw you out of position. With the conventional pull in particular, I would say it's absolutely crucial that you set your hips back first with straight knees, just like you would in a stiff leg deadlift, so you can maintain that perfectly straight bar path centered over the middle of the foot. Let the plates come to a full and complete reset on the ground after each rep without bouncing the plates off the ground, and then begin the pull again by taking a deep breath in, pulling the slack out of the bar, driving your hips forward, locking the bar out, setting your hips back, and following the bar back down in a straight line.